How many times have you felt that even surrounded by family, there's a certain distance that didn't exist before? As if, without meaning to, you've started pushing people away with gestures and words that seem harmless, but which, little by little, build an invisible wall around you? The truth is, the wisdom of years doesn't immunize us against certain habits that undermine our relationships. And worse, almost no one has the courage to warn us about it. Picture this scene. You once again share that firm opinion about how things should be, certain that your experience gives you authority. But the exchanged glances at the table, the awkward silence that follows, reveal what words don't say. You're unknowingly closing doors instead of opening them. Or that grandson who used to love your stories but now always seems in a hurry to leave. Is it just kids these days? Or has something changed in how you relate? The Bible tells us in Proverbs that gentle words are a tree of life. But how often do we trade that gentleness for a frankness that hurts? Or in 1 Timothy, where we're exhorted to treat younger people as brothers with all purity, do our constant criticisms of the current generation reflect this spirit? This isn't a call to stop being who we are, but to become the best version of ourselves, one that reflects Christ even in life's small details. Because aging gracefully isn't about perfection, but awareness. Just as we care for a garden by pulling weeds before they choke the flowers, we must identify these habits that are silently suffocating our relationships. In the coming minutes, we'll explore these common traps together, not to condemn, but to enlighten. Because it's never too late to adjust course, and each day is a new chance to be channels of love and wisdom. After all, what legacy do we want to leave? Marks of irritation, or footprints of kindness to guide the generations that follow? Remember that wonderful feeling when someone approaches and you feel that warm hug, that genuine interest in your day? Well, that's exactly what we begin to lose when we neglect personal care. This isn't about vanity, it's about honor. When Apostle Paul reminds us that our body is the temple of the Holy Spirit, he's speaking precisely of this dignity that shows in the details. Well-groomed hair, a trimmed beard, clean and fresh-smelling clothes, these are like calling cards that say, "I still care." And do you know why this matters so much? Because when we stop taking care of ourselves, we unintentionally send a painful message to those who love us, that they're no longer worth our effort. Your grandson might not say anything when he notices that stained shirt you insist on wearing, but in his heart lingers a tinge of sadness, as if the grandpa or grandma he was so proud of is giving up. And here's the beauty of new beginnings. Often, just a small adjustment can transform this perception. How about today you look through your closet and set aside those pieces that still bring comfort but also dignity, or schedule that barber appointment you keep postponing? These are simple gestures, but they echo a powerful truth. You're still valuable. Your presence still matters and deserves to be celebrated. How many times have you caught yourself saying, "back in my day," with disapproval in your voice? It's natural to want to share our experiences, but there's a fine line between teaching and criticizing that, when crossed, can do more harm than good. Jesus, our greatest example, knew exactly when and how to speak. His words were like apples of gold in settings of silver, as Proverbs says. He corrected with love, built up with patience. And we, his followers, are called to do the same. When your child or grandchild does something differently than you would, before criticizing, try asking, "Help me understand why you chose to do it this way." This simple shift turns the conversation from a monologue of disapproval to a true mutual learning experience. Remember, younger generations face challenges we never imagined. The world has changed dramatically, and what worked in our time may not be the solution today. But this doesn't mean our wisdom has lost value. It simply means we need to learn to package it in new ways. When we choose to listen first, we create space for our advice to be truly received. And don't be surprised if, by adopting this posture, you discover you also have much to learn from the younger ones. After all, the Holy Spirit moves where He wills, and often uses precisely those we consider inexperienced to teach us precious lessons. Why not try an experiment this week? Instead of starting sentences with, "in my time," try saying, "what do you think about?" Or, "how would you solve this?" You'll be amazed at the doors this small change can open. And who knows, you might rediscover, in the process, the joy of learning while teaching. And what about those clothes we've kept for 20 years? Full of memories but no longer reflecting who we are today. Just as our faith needs renewing every morning, our wardrobe deserves the same attention. This isn't about following fleeting trends, but about honoring the life God has given us by presenting our best. When we appear careless, we're unconsciously telling the world we no longer value the gift of life. King David, even in his old age, dressed with dignity, not out of vanity, but because he understood our outward appearance communicates something about our inner self. Try this loving exercise. Look at your closet with affection, but also with honesty. That faded shirt, those pants that no longer fit well, do they still serve the purpose of reflecting the care you have for yourself? We don't need to spend fortunes. Just choose with intention. A good wash, a quick ironing, a small adjustment at the tailor, small gestures that make a big difference. And when we dress thoughtfully, something interesting happens. People around us respond with a new level of respect. Not because the world is superficial, but because we all instinctively treat better those who demonstrate self-worth. Have you noticed how conversations can turn into monologues without us realizing it? The wisdom accumulated over decades of life gives us so much to share that we sometimes end up dominating dialogues unintentionally. But here's a profound biblical principle. The hearts of the wise make their mouths prudent, and their lips promote instruction. Proverbs 16, verse 23. Notice the order? First, a wise heart, then a prudent mouth. When we constantly interrupt or monopolize conversations, even with good intentions, we're reversing this divine equation. Jesus, our greatest example, knew how to listen before speaking as to. Remember how He dealt with the Samaritan woman. He could have given a sermon, but instead asked questions that opened her heart. What a powerful lesson for us. Try this in the coming weeks. In every conversation, take a sacred pause. Count silently to 3 before responding. In that brief silence, you'll hear not just the other person's words, but the feelings behind them. Your teenage grandson, who seems distant, might be trying to say something important behind that, "Okay, Grandpa." Your busy daughter may be carrying worries that will only surface if we give her space. And here's the beautiful part. When we practice this active listening, something magical happens. People start seeking us out, not out of obligation, but because they've discovered that in our presence they are truly heard and valued. Isn't that wonderful? Transforming our relationships doesn't require grand speeches, but simply applying James's advice. Be quick to listen, slow to speak. Want to try this challenge this week? Watch how this small change can open doors that seemed closed for so long. How many times have you heard, or even said, the phrase, "In my day, things were different," with a disapproving sigh? It's natural to compare eras, but when this comparison becomes constant criticism, we're unknowingly building walls between generations. Today's youth face challenges we never imagined. A digital world, fluid relationships, complex social pressures. Try this week replacing "in my time" with "tell me how it is for you." This simple shift in attitude can transform your relationship with grandchildren and adult children. When we show genuine interest in their world without prejudgment, we create sacred space where our advice will be received with far greater openness. Remember, biblical wisdom is eternal, but how we communicate it must reach each generation's heart. Your role isn't to make young people live as you did, but to help them apply divine principles in their own context. And what about those little oversights in public spaces? Loud phone conversations, blocking entire aisles with shopping carts, or ignoring lines. Have you ever stopped to think what they're really communicating? These seemingly innocent habits can unintentionally broadcast indifference toward others. When we were younger, perhaps no one minded these details, but the world has changed. Picture this scene. You're at the supermarket, focused on your shopping list, unaware you're occupying the entire aisle. A young mother with her baby in a stroller waits patiently behind you. In this simple moment, you have a precious opportunity to demonstrate Christian love in practice. Just a step aside, a smile, a "go ahead, dear." These are small gestures, but they echo Jesus' heart in our daily lives. And here's a secret. When we adopt this attentive, courteous posture, something interesting happens. People don't just respect us more, they see something different in us, something that makes them pause and wonder, what makes this person this way? Without saying a word about faith, we're already planting gospel seeds. Why not start observing your surroundings more carefully in public spaces? Notice people's flow, maintain respectful distance, lower your phone voice slightly. These adjustments cost nothing but are worth so much. How often have you caught yourself turning everyday conversations into detailed lists of your health problems? It's understandable. With age, physical challenges do increase. But there's profound wisdom in moderation. When we focus excessively on our ailments, we unknowingly steal beauty from the present moment and burden our relationships. Try this transformative exercise. Set aside specific time to share health concerns with close family, perhaps during Sunday lunch, and strive to balance these conversations with other uplifting topics. Talk about that unusual bird that visited your garden, the new recipe you tried, or a joyful memory from years past. Dressing with dignity isn't about vanity, but about honoring the temple of the Holy Spirit that is your body. That favorite sweater from 20 years ago may hold memories, but does it still reflect the vibrant child of God you are today? Small updates to your wardrobe can communicate self-respect that draws people towards you rather than away. And when it comes to stubbornness, holding inflexibly to how things should be often pushes people away from the truth we want to share. This week, why not try replacing one criticism with one curious question daily? Updating one worn-out clothing item, practicing aisle awareness in stores, designating specific times to discuss health matters, noticing 3 positive things to share for every difficulty mentioned. These aren't radical changes, but subtle shifts that can dramatically improve how others experience your presence. The beautiful truth is, it's never too late to become the grandparent, parent, and friend who leaves a legacy of love that points others toward God. And here is a wonderful benefit of this change. When we reduce the focus on our physical limitations, we often discover we have more energy for other things. Your grandson may be surprised when, instead of hearing about your aches and pains, you ask about the games he enjoys or the music he listens to. Why not start today by observing the balance in your conversations? You'll find that by doing this, people won't love you less. On the contrary, they'll seek you out even more. Have you ever insisted so strongly on an opinion that in the end, everyone fell silent, but their silence didn't mean agreement? As we age, our experience gives us deep convictions, and that's good. The problem arises when we turn these convictions into walls rather than bridges. When a controversial topic comes up in family discussions, instead of declaring, "That's wrong," try saying, "What leads you to think that way?" This simple change in posture works wonders in relationships. You'll notice something extraordinary. When people feel their perspectives are respected, they become much more open to considering the wisdom you offer. After all, it's not our rigidity that convinces people, but the love with which we share our convictions. Why not try an experiment this week? Choose a conversation where you would normally impose your view, and instead practice the art of asking sincere questions. You may be surprised at the doors this intellectual humility opens. And, who knows, you might discover that by making space for dialogue, your voice becomes even more relevant to younger generations. We've reached the end of this reflection, but in truth, this is just the beginning of a transformative journey. Remember, aging gracefully isn't about perfection, but about willingness to grow. And this is a lifelong process. The habits we've discussed today won't change overnight, but small daily adjustments can revolutionize your relationships. Start by choosing just 1 or 2 areas to work on in the coming weeks. Maybe it's practicing active listening, or refreshing your wardrobe with pieces that bring both comfort and dignity. What matters is moving forward gently, with yourself and with others. When you stumble, and we all stumble, remember that forgiveness and grace are precious gifts we can both receive and offer. Your life is an open book where God is still writing beautiful stories, stories of transformation, reconciliation, and love that transcends generations. May the Holy Spirit give you discernment to see where change is needed, courage to take the first steps, and wisdom to celebrate each victory along the way. And when someone comments about the new light in your eyes or the joy in your spirit, you'll know you're on the right path. The path that leads not just to better human relationships, but to deeper communion with God Himself, who calls us to shine in every season of life. If this content has touched your heart and brought valuable insights for your journey, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Every like and subscription helps us create more uplifting material like this, so we can grow together in wisdom and grace at every stage of life. Also, share it with someone who might benefit from these reflections. After all, the best way to retain what we've learned is to pass it on. Until next time, may God continue blessing your walk with love, discernment, and increasingly meaningful relationships.